Hey there, buddy-o. I heard this is the place where I can get the thing. Do you have the thing? Oh, don't worry, I've got what you're looking for. Here you go, buddy. I never thought I'd have to go through so many hoops to buy a barrel. Well, it's a good thing that I have one. What the crap? Hey there, fakes and cheesesteaks. It's your Luggo, and what have I been up to? Well, first off, I got a pet barrel. His name's Peter. I don't know what's up with him, but I think he's some sort of criminal. You see, I went to the underworld to buy him for no particular reason, and the police stopped me for a second and said that barrels are the second most outlawed thing right behind spicy Cheetos. They handed me this game before I went all Luggo on them and they got away. If you couldn't tell by the snake on the box art, this is Kid Icarus for the NES. It stars that guy from Super Smash Bros. Actually, not really. This is just a really obscure NES game. I'm pretty sure that this game is obscure due to its odd gameplay and its somewhat generic concept involving mythology. This series was ignored for several years, and I guess Super Smash Bros. Brought Pit back into the spotlight because they made Kid Icarus Uprising after this. So when I went back to revisit Pit's origins, I can understand why he was left in the dust. Now, I like to cover the stories in games and stuff, but NES games have super duper complex stories. I mean, I don't know if I'll be able to recount it in this video. Now, hang on and don't let go for a second. The story is... go kill bad demon. Man, that was a doozy. Oh, have to keep on going. Gosh darn it, I thought that synopsis that I found on the wiki would pass 10 minutes. So it's your sworn duty as Pit, an angel of light, to rid the world of these demons. Now the gameplay is a little bit different than most NES games. Instead, you proceed upward. I find that very fitting considering this game's world theming. First you're in the underworld, then you're in the overworld, and then you're in heaven. You're equipped with a bow, which, despite being a ranged weapon, doesn't have very much range at all, and you can kill enemies and get hearts. No, the hearts don't heal you, instead you use them to buy stuff from the shops. You can even walk from the right side of the wall and end up on the left side, and the game has specific moments that are designed around this. I guess the best way to describe this is kind of a mix between Mario and Zelda. Mario because of the level-based structure, and Zelda because of the upgrades. Now, I think that this game is different in a good way. The gameplay concepts are really nice. With that said, this is one of the worst beginnings I've ever seen in a video game. You may be able to take a ton of hits, and you may be able to deal with the enemies pretty well with your current equipment, but there's a big issue with this. The big issue is stage hazards. Not necessarily the enemies, because those are completely fine, except in a few cases. No, the big issue is the camera. I know technically there's no camera for NES games, but you get what I mean. This scrolls upward, and whenever it scrolls upward, it will never go back down. Meaning, everything that's below that is a bottomless pit. Ah, I said pit. There's an item that can save you from bottomless pits, but at this point in the game, what's the point of shops? Unless if you're just going to go out of your way to grind for hearts, which takes forever, you're not going to be able to afford anything in that shop. Even if you do have the patience to get that item, you can die in several different ways. And guess what happens if you die? You get sent back to the beginning of this long level and lose everything that you got throughout it. Peter, you betrayed me! It appears that this game's cracked open a cold hard can of bullcrap, but don't worry, I filled my deck with trump cards. Through the power of restore point, I mean, pure skill, oh, who am I kidding? Just use the story points, play this on an emulator or the NES Classic or something. It'll make these levels somewhat tolerable. I mean, it'll still be like trying to cut your fingers off with pizza cutters. That, and since this has a level-based structure, you're more than likely not going to have enough hearts to buy the stuff that you need. You're going to be scraping by these opening segments with just a few hearts and maybe a few HP upgrades. After you get past the first 3 levels, you're met with a dungeon of all things. There's dungeons at the end of each world, and even though I don't think that they have fantastic design or anything, there's still nice changes of pace. The first one specifically is actually really good. You even have some nice spots to grind for hearts. I guess now's a good time to bring up the shops. They're pretty basic. You just go in there and you buy stuff that you want. Most of these are one-use items, you know, to save you from death or to heal you up. However, I do take issue with the mapping tools. In the dungeons, you have this big map, but you can't use it. You have to buy tools to see it where you're located and to trace out spots on the map. Not like these come very cheap either, so I just had to use what little memorization skills I had. And what did we learn today? well, you still lose everything that you purchased in the middle of the level if you die. There's also a secondary store, the black market, and the black market has much more useful stuff, much like how it does in real life. One very useful item is this potion here that can give you a little more health if you run out. You can only hold one at a time unless if you have a barrel. You can buy a barrel for a little bit more, and I guess you can just go ahead and grind up some other hearts to get some more potions. So if you're gonna play this game, I heavily recommend that you buy yourself a barrel from the black market. Wait a second! Barrels are being sold at the black market in the underworld? Peter, why didn't you tell me this? What do you mean barrels can't talk? Sorry that you had to see the Luggo meltdown back there. I don't fully support the purchase of a barrel now. Back to dungeons though, even though they're not particularly great, I still kind of enjoy them. The things I don't like about them though are these pieces of crap will turn you into an eggplant and you can't do anything about that besides just walk back to a hospital. There are also these statues of centurions throughout the dungeons. You're supposed to collect hammers from other levels and then crack them open here. The more centurions you save, the more centurions that can help you out in the boss fight at the end of each dungeon. They're very useless though. Sure, they can apply some chip damage, but they die in one hit. So in, say, Pandora's boss fight where there's projectiles everywhere, even if you have 10, you're going to run out of them in like 30 seconds. I'm going to dedicate this next part to the overworld since it's structured differently than the first and final worlds. You see, here instead of going upward, you actually just go to the right. It's also at this point that I feel like that the game gets a little more easier, now that you can afford more upgrades and also have more health. But something in particular, and I know that this is super specific, this part with these Yeti monsters. There's these ice platforms that, you step around on them and stuff, and the Yeti monsters, they shoot projectiles. What is your first thought? My first thought was, I should duck underneath these projectiles. Ducking makes you fall through these platforms. And yes, it kills you. I know, it's great design. One more aspect I'd like to bring up before we move on to the ending is the other two places you can get upgrades. Now, since you're in heaven, it's pretty obvious that you get to meet Jesus, and he's awesome. He's such a chill dude. You just walk into his place and he gives you an arrow upgrade. These arrow upgrades make your arrows into actual arrows, as in they go farther across the screen and do more damage. Then there's this guy. He's supposed to be Zeus, and he's significantly less awesome. You walk into his house, he says he's going to test you, and then he proceeds to try and kill you with tiles. Like, you just walk in there, and he begs you to dance around these tiles. Oh my goodness gracious. Somebody better call up Home Depot. I want to see his receipt. Oh, and if you actually manage to complete that, then you get your choice between an arrow that has more damage, a bow that shoots across the screen, or this shield thingy. Too bad all of those upgrades get deactivated if you died and they don't get recovered until you get to the next level. After getting each of the 3 sacred treasures from the 3 bosses, you proceed on to go kill Medusa. This boss can be a little bit difficult, but here's the thing. I'm Luigi Magic in X. I like calling myself Luggo, but I still have some magic tricks. This is a magic trick right here. Man, that's cool. So, Pit rescues Palutena, and that's the end of that. What do I think of Kid Icarus? I don't really think too highly of it. I know that there are a lot of people that like this game, and it's a game that I do want to like myself. It's unique, it's got some cool aspects to it, but it feels kind of sloppy in some areas. There are some parts I like, but unfortunately the negative parts outweigh that. I still recommend that you give it a try, and if you're having trouble like I do, make sure to use restore points and stuff. Like I said, dying and restarting the whole level all over again, and losing everything that you got throughout that level is really painful and tedious. Kid Icarus was a game that tried to be unique, and it succeeded with that, but failed in some areas. Now, if you excuse me, I've got some more important things to do. It's your Luggo, and as a little tip from me, don't buy barrels from the underworld, they're illegal.